السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين يفعل ما يريد. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبد الله ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا. فصلوات الله وسلامه عليه. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He is the Lord of the universe, because He is the most compassionate and the most merciful, and because He is the sovereign of the day of judgment. It is you alone who we worship, and it is you alone who we seek help from. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us in our daily lives and to help us be among the best of the best. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His peace and blessings upon the last and final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the one who was sent to the universe as a source, as the resource of mercy and good. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among His followers and those who take from His sunnah and live and carry on His legacy of peace and mercy and good. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. And we remind one another to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be among the people of taqwa. And those who have taqwa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps them in every single aspect of their lives. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the people of taqwa. Amma ba'd. Exercise is good. And it's become common sense, that we should exercise. Yet the amount of people who exercise is so small, very limited. Why is that? We know why. Because it requires work. We have these responsibilities that we need to fulfill. Our schedules are tight, and our work days are long, and by the time we get home, we're tired. And if we're going to go before work, it means we're going to sacrifice an hour of sleep. It's not as easy as it sounds. And when you go and work out, you finally get your feet into that door, and you start working out. We feel terrible. You're running, and you're out of breath, and you want to stop. And it needs a lot of will to continue to go. But what happens after you finish your workout? When you're walking back to your car, man, you feel good. You feel good. Your day is filled with energy. You feel proud of yourself. You eat better. You sleep better. And the list of benefits go on. This is an analogy for something that the Prophet ﷺ told us to do. But like working out, we are distracted from it. We are distracted by the luxuries of this life. We are distracted by the system which we live in. And when we think about doing this, it makes us very uncomfortable. Even thinking about it makes us uncomfortable. But what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ. Luxury, wealth, worldly desires. You have attained so much of them, and they are distracting you until you visit the graveyard. Until you walk in the graveyard and read the names of those who have passed on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all the Muslims and forgive all the believers. Ameen. Until you start reading those tombstones, things change. And unfortunately, we only go to the graveyard when we're burying a friend or a loved one. But when you are there, remember the feeling. It makes you uncomfortable. Because we hate death. It's natural. It's normal. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acknowledges that. In a hadith Qudsi, He says, I hate what you hate. And what humans hate the most is death, but it's a necessity. It has to happen. There's no way around it. Because there's something greater in the end. Being closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you are in the graveyard, what are you thinking about? What do you feel? Yes, it makes us uncomfortable. But what do we start feeling? Am I good to my parents? Do I have a strong enough relationship with my children? Am I spending enough time with them? Is my relationship with my spouse good? What is this life? What is waiting for me after it? Look at the thought. This is a healthy thought process. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ. We are distracted by our worldly affairs. But going and visiting the graveyard brings us down to reality and gives us a break from all of that. And we start thinking about the real pleasures of this life. We start thinking about the true pleasures of this life. The things that really make us happy. The things that are really important, and we are no longer distracted. And when we leave the graveyard, we find that we tell ourselves, I got to do this, I got to call my friend who I haven't spoken to in a long time, I got to make sure I fix some things. And although we very rarely carry on with that, but that process is healthy. So just like the person who exercises and they feel terrible while exercising, but when they leave they feel healthy and strong. When we go to the graveyard we feel uncomfortable, but when we leave we feel refreshed. And in this regard it is said, احرص على الموت توهب لك الحياة. Be persistent, remember death, work towards it, meaning build your next life, and you will find that this world will open up for you. It will be gifted to you, because when your focus is upon what's next, what's coming next, then you will find that the pleasures of this life, the real ones, become your focus. That is the goal. That is refreshing. That is what we need. And I'll give you an example of this in the time of the Sahaba. Surah Nahl, the 16th chapter. It was revealed about the time, or in the time where the Muslims started immigrating to Medina. And they didn't immigrate as one unit. Most of them had to go secretly, at night. Some of them had to leave their family, or go in different times. Their wife would go at one time, their husband would go at another time, and their kids at another time. Why? Because the pagans of Mecca, the Quraysh, they were watching them. So they have to do this secretly. And most of them left their wealth behind. They left their families behind. So they felt like they lost everything. But Surah An-Nahl comes and tells us it gives us a very important lesson. It's also called the chapter of blessings. Surah An-Ni'am. Because it talks about the blessings from the beginning all the way till the end. These are the blessings which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. It is not about the wealth and the money and the bank account. Rather, look at the sun and the moon and the stars and the skies. Look at the mountains. Look how beautiful it was this morning with snow on it. And it was frozen. How does that make you feel? Who can take that away from you? Absolutely no one, because that is Allah's gift to us. When we think about the next life, our attention becomes upon the greatest blessings. We start thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We start thinking about paradise. We start thinking about the natural world around us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Himself and gave it to us as a gift. So don't be among those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ. Rather be among those who are constantly looking for the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has blessed every single person regardless of their financial status, regardless of their intelligence level, intellectual level, regardless of where they are, what time they are, the sun, the moon, the stars, the skies, the oceans, the mountains are always the same, it's accessible by all. These are the real blessings. Having a vacation or spending time with your children, that is the real blessing. Spending time with your family, building that unit, the most important unit of society, that is the blessing. So the question comes, how can we achieve the blessings of this life while working towards the blessings of the next life? That is the point, or one of the points, one of the goals of Islam. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Kareem, the most gracious? Do you think that Islam is built around rejecting this life and bearing its burdens to achieve the next life? Is Allah's graciousness, His generosity limited only to the next life? On the contrary. On the contrary, it is about achieving the blessings of this life and the next life. And that is the point of Islam. That is how it's made. That's the system of Islam. For you to achieve happiness in this life and happiness in the next life. So what are 3 ways we can do that? Number one is dua. And I don't mean making dua, oh Allah, make me happy. I don't mean making dua, oh Allah, give me iman. What I mean is making dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your needs and your wants. Because when you look at the dua that's in Quran and Sunnah, it always focuses around the good of this life and the good of the next life. Such as the well-known dua, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, give us the good of this life. Give us the good of the next life and protect us from the punishment of the hellfire. In other words, don't let the good of this life make us distracted, cause us to be distracted from the good of the next life. And that's what it's teaching us. When you make dua and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're doing this constantly, you will see your dua manifested in your daily lives. Imagine that. You make a simple dua, yet you find the response, and you think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, above the 7 heavens, above the throne, has listened to us, has heard our call, and answered it. The greatest, the highest authority answered me, and you are seeing this manifested in your daily lives. Well, what do you think that's going to do for you? The more you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you will find it in your daily lives. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even for a shoelace. Not because a shoelace is hard to attain, not because it's impossible to get a shoelace, not because it's expensive, but because when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you formulate that relationship. You build that relationship. And when you are constantly seeing your dua accepted in your daily lives, look at the happiness that will bring you. Look at the iman that will bring you. That you realize, you acknowledge, you accept, you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's as good as it gets. And remember, my dear brothers and sisters, making dua, regardless of who you are, if you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your dua is accepted in various ways, so long as you are not hasty. You don't say, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He didn't answer me. No, continue to ask. And remember that the one you are asking is wiser, more knowledgeable than each and every single one of us. And therefore it's not about Him not rejecting your dua. It's about Him choosing the best way to answer it for you, which we may be unaware of. When you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remember that He hears you. And remember that you are in need of Him. And the more you can acknowledge that, the more that you can feel that in your dua, the more your heart can accept that I need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more powerful your dua will be. So make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with tama', as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, with hope. Recognizing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not reject a single dua. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2, dhikr. Remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we all know the verse, and I've mentioned this verse more than once, but it's so powerful, and it's needed. We need this. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. And the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hearts find rest. They find tranquility. It finds peace, and that doesn't mean you'll live a life of luxury. It doesn't mean you'll live a life that is free of hardship. But whatever your situation is, your heart will remember, I have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's able to change the universe. And as He protected Nuh alayhi salam and changed the dynamics of the ocean and caused a flood to help him, then know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do that for you. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed the physical dynamics of earth for the individual who killed 99 people, according to one narration. According to one narration, he died closer to the city he was from. And the rule was that whichever city he dies closer to, then that will be his judgment. If he dies closer to his city, then he will be punished. His tawbah, his repentance isn't accepted. But if he dies closer to the other city he is going to, then it will be accepted. And one narration says that he actually died further away from the city he was going to. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed the dynamics of earth for that individual. So by remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your heart finds peace because it knows that Allah is there to help. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there to bring the good for you. And the verse after it, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ طُوبَى لَهُمْ وَحُسْنُ مَآبٍ. Those who believe and do good deeds, tuba is for them. And one opinion, it comes from tab, which means good. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nahl, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة. We will give them a life that is good, a life that they are content with, a life that is peaceful, a life that is not overburdening, crushing them with stress. By remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing dhikr, you will find that. You will find it. And you will find the good of this life before the good of the next life. وَحُسْنُ مَآبٍ. And the return, meaning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will be an excellent one, will be a beautiful one, will be a great one. Dhikr. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are all capable of doing that. It does not require energy. It does not require you to go out of your way. It requires you to say subhanallah. It requires you to say alhamdulillah, whether with your tongue or in your mind or in your heart. By constantly doing that, you will find this peace and tranquility. People are willing to spend millions to find it. You have that for free. How much does it cost to say a word? Absolutely nothing. How much energy does it take to say a word? Absolutely nothing. The greatest blessing that you can attain in this life comes from something that requires absolutely no effort, no price. Subhanallah. And on top of that, the reward of dhikr is immense. سَبِقَ الْمُفَرَّدُونَ. The ones who make dhikr in this hadith, الذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ. The ones who make dhikr, who are constantly, whether male or female, remembering Allah, they have excelled. They have surpassed. They reach the highest levels. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, number 3. And this is especially important for the youth. And although it's inconvenient at many times, it is important for the context we live in, and that is fasting, siyam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in a holy hadith, كُلُّ عَمْلِ ابْنِ آدَمْ لَهُ إِلَّا الصِّيَامِ فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Every action the child of Adam does is for them. They're benefiting from it one way or another. Except fasting. Because fasting is about leaving. You leave your food, you leave your drink, you leave your desires, you let that go for many hours. That is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a person fasts, it helps them deal with the desires, the deception that we are dealing with, that our youth are bombarded with. Each person wants to do what they want to do. Each person wants to fulfill their own desires, regardless of its negative side effects, the side effects it has on society. This is the reality we are living in, so O youth, fast. Fast and help yourself deal with these realities. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all our good deeds. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring us happiness in this life and the next. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Ramadan is coming soon. اللهم بلغنا رمضان. اللهم بلغنا رمضان. اللهم بلغنا رمضان. Remember in Ramadan, in your previous Ramadan, how many times do you remember saying, man, I wish I had that cup of coffee? How many times do you remember, man, that donut feels really good, sounds really good right now? One of the wisdoms of fasting is that it reminds you of the flavor of that which you have become desensitized to. When you drink a cup of coffee every day, or 3 or 4 or 5, however many, it becomes normal. It becomes not much flavor. But when you fast and you start remembering that taste, it becomes more pleasurable. So by fasting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enhances the pleasures you gain from the daily activities that you do. And my dear brothers and sisters, think about the verses of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advises us, فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. Don't let the deception of this life deceive you. Don't let these minute, these often deceptive pleasures take you away from the real pleasures of this life and the next. Don't let the shaitan, your enemy, use these against you and take you away from the real pleasures of this life and the next life. Don't let him distract you. And remember the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He says, الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء والله يعدكم مغفرة منه وفضلا. The shaitan he promises you poverty, and he promises you indecency. That's his goal. He wants you to be poor, he wants you to be unhappy, he wants you to be miserable, he wants you to be depressed. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises forgiveness. That guilt that a person might feel, those negative emotions that they are embodying, their heart is containing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises to take that away if you fulfill your requirements, if you fulfill your obligations. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises bounty in this life and the next life. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who He gives His bounties to in this life and the next life. My dear brothers and sisters, we have a few announcements. To start off, we encourage you, Jazakumullah khair, to help the masjid by donating. Whatever you can donate is very much appreciated. Help the masjid. Alhamdulillah, we're trying to expand and do a lot more for this. We have a few programs coming up. We're preparing for Ramadan, so help us by donating. Jazakumullah khair. Make dua for Marwa Jamal, who passed away in her early 20s. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bestow patience upon her family, and I believe she was married, upon her husband. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive her and make among the people of paradise. Also make dua for Mateen Irfan, who passed away in India. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive him and to bless him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to overlook any sins and any shortcomings and to accept his good deeds and to make him among the people of paradise. Our annual singles event is coming up on March 17th at the Mission Viejo Community Center. Pillars Academy open house is on Wednesday, February 27th at 5 p.m. Children will be presenting, followed by classroom visitation. Register for infants and kindergarten. Registration for infants and kindergarten is open. The Shura Council's 24th annual banquet is on Saturday, March 16th at the Hyatt Regency in Garden Grove. Tickets can be purchased online at shuracouncil.org/banquet. OCIF's Friday Quran class is tonight at 4:30. The OCIF and ICOI joint bowling event is tonight at Irvine Lanes. There will not be a MyOC here in the masjid. Again, parents, there is no MyOC tonight in the masjid. We will be in Irvine Lanes. The Sahaba series on Tuesdays after Isha prayer, which will be at 7:30. So please do join us with our speaker, Sheikh Hamad Faqih. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات يا رب العالمين. اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا واجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the believers, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the people of taqwa and the people of guidance. Ameen. Welcome. الصلاة